just like you did for Abraham. God, I need you to show me your sign. So today I challenge heaven, cause I feel in the spirit it's manifestation time. So here I am, Jesus. All I have is your word. Show yourself to be God. I know you won't let me down. Oh, Jehovah Jireh. I won't stop believing. Jehovah Jireh. I promise I won't stop believing. I gotta release it for somebody else. God, I feel you now, preparing me for my next move. My faith is being tested, oh Lord, but I know you will, you shall, you've got to come through, just like you did for Abraham. Lord, I need you to show me your sign. So today I challenge heaven, cause I feel in the spirit it's manifestation time. So here I am, Jesus. All I have is your word. Show yourself to be God. I know you won't let me down. Yeah. Somebody wave your hand and say, I won't stop. You ought to lift your voice and shout. I promise I won't stop believing. Cause I've seen you do it over and over again. Oh yeah, oh Lord, I won't stop believing. You cannot fail me, Jehovah Jireh. I won't stop believing. Now, I came to tell you that this is what I believe.
That the same God who raised Lazarus from the dead,
Yes,
the same God who caused Jehoshaphat and his army to triumph. I believe
the same.
that the same God who delivered the three Hebrew boys is the same God.
Yes, yes. Jehovah Jireh. I won't stop believing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jehovah Jireh. I've gone too far to give up on you. This is what I believe. You are
The same God who raised Lazarus from the dead,
the same God.
Jehoshaphat and his army to triumph. The same God who delivered the three Hebrew boys is the same God.
Will he come through for me? How long will he show me that he's still God? He watches over his word to perform. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, he does. I'm reminded of Abraham, when all he had was God's word carrying him. And even when it hurted him the most, he still had faith in his God to lift his voice and declare. Somebody declare, the Lord, he will provide. I've never seen the
Hey, good morning, Spirit Rising family. It is so good to be with you this first Sunday of May. Latasha, thank you for getting us started with this powerful gospel music this morning. I'm going to give our community members an opportunity to still arrive, providing another couple of minutes while they come, and I will play some more music for us to listen to.
Welcome to the dream space. This is a transmission, a download, a daydream. Breathe in. Breathe in your imagination. Stay here. Stay and rest. Stay in the dream space. Our collective rest will save us. Welcome to the dream space. Another world is possible. You are enough. Our dreams are enough. This is imagination work. Imagine you have everything you need. Imagine a world with justice. Imagine a world where capitalism doesn't exist. Poverty is no longer created. Welcome to your dream space. A portal opens when we rest, when we nap, when we stop, when we sleep, when we have silence. Stay here. You can daydream. You can daydream. Welcome to the dream space. Daydream, you have everything you need. You have everything you need. You have everything you need. This is a transmission. Daydream. Daydream. Stay here. This is imagination work. This is dream work. Welcome to your dream space. You can just be. 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 You can just be.
We'll give one more minute for people to arrive.
Are you ready? One, two.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Spirit Rising family. I am so grateful for all of you who have chosen to join us today. And I invite you to unmute yourselves so that we can begin our community together and we can hear everybody this morning. Come on off mute and tell me hello.
Good morning, you all.
Good morning, Delisha. Good morning, Yawo.
Grand Rising, everyone.
Grand Rising, Maisha.
Happy New Day.
Hey, is that Mo? Happy New Day, Mo.
Yeah, I'm still waking up.
I understand. I understand. Hello, Latasha.
Good morning.
Good
This is
morning
Sweet
now.
Tea on the telephone.
Hello, sweetie. Hello. All right, beautiful ones. It is so very good to be with you this morning. As always, I like to anchor us in our sort of community ethos. And so I want to remind us, and I know everybody on this call is a long-standing member, but it doesn't hurt to anchor again in what brings us together. That Spirit Rising is a salon for the soul, and it's a sacred space and community where our spiritual growth and liberation meet. We offer provocations that stimulate our spiritual curiosity, invite our most authentic self-expression, and activate the wisdom of our souls. We affirm the power of the collective to serve as a mighty channel for revelation and the flow through of spirit. In our community, we trust love as the greatest universal power. We honor the divine as spoken by any name and indeed no name at all. We focus on collective liberation through spirit while emphasizing personal experiences and transformations. We lovingly explore the intersections of spiritual development and transformative justice. And we believe that spiritual intimacy and oneness with the divine is an accessible relationship for all. We are rooted by the profound welcome, a persistent, unqualified yes, an extension of unconditional belonging to each and every one of us. And we dare to stand in the spaces of hurt and hope to fully witness the possibilities of creation. We, indeed, open to the truth wherever we find it, and we find it in lots of traditions, in lots of belief systems, in lots of cultures and religions, and we welcome it all. Ultimately, we embrace the wildness and the wholeness of our spirits. And this is what anchors our Spirit Rising community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I want to give you just a little bit of time to locate yourself here, to share how you are arriving this Sunday morning. So I'm opening up the floor for you to share how you're arriving at the well of wisdom today. The floor is open.
I am forever grateful. I'm grateful for the air that I'm breathing, the air that's flowing through my breath to allow things to come out of my mouth. I'm grateful for my children, for this community, for the communities that I have that allow me to be me and feel safe. I am grateful for my grandchildren because when I feel down and lonely, they always remind me, you are loved, and we're the little ones that love you. So I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. And it's been a long time since I felt this way, but I'm excited. I love life. I love the people around me. And I love how God continues to show up in my life.
Maisha, how wonderful. I'm so glad that you are beginning this day and this month anchored and rooted in the spirit of gratitude. And I'm so glad that you have your family, particularly your progeny, your grandchildren, to remind you
Amen.
just how loved you are and just how
Yes.
much you are loved. How beautiful. What a blessing.
Thank you.
Are there others who want to share how you're arriving at the well of wisdom today?
Hey, this is Sweet. Hey, this is Sweetie. Can you hear me?
Yes, sweetie, we can.
Hello. Can you? Yeah, you can. Okay. I am arriving joyous, happy, liberated, and yeah, I feel really good right now. So thank you all.
We are so happy that you are starting this beautiful day feeling joyous, happy, and liberated. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way to be on this first Sunday of the month. May those feelings continue to carry you throughout the week and throughout the days of this month. Welcome, sweet tea. Okay.
Good
Are there
morning.
others? Hey, Delisha.
Good morning. I am arriving with lots of aches and sores in my body, but I got acupuncture for the first time yesterday, and I am really impressed that a few needles can cause this much reaction in me. Um, but there's a thing that my therapist said to me a while ago that just kind of feels like the season I'm in right now. She told me that um when I am she said that like healthy relationships will actually trigger you because it's like your nervous system is sensing that there's a space safe enough to deal with some old wounds that it wasn't safe enough to come up with. And I just feel like I've been in a season with I've been really quiet by myself for a lot lately, and I feel a lot of flare ups, like not just like my body and pain flare up, but also like habits like procrastination, like all these things that like I have, kind of avoided for a while. Like I ain't got time for that, I ain't got time for that. And I'm feeling a lot of the presence of these parts. And I'm starting to take it as a sign that I am in a good enough relationship with myself that I have the space to deal with some of these to be with some of these parts of myself. And so it's interesting. Like I'm feeling this flare up in my and I for the first time I went and saw a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner because I've kind of had it with the traditional medical system. And she was explaining that like joint pain is about like some like latent uh like emotional or psychological wounds that kind of like settle in your body, and they like they just like or get lie dormant for a while, then they flare up in these ways. So it just feels like a space of a lot of flare ups psychologically, emotionally, physically. But it also feels like the flare up is a sign that I have the space and the tools to deal with it. And so I am sore, but it kind of feels like one of those soreness where you're like, oh, the medicine's working. You know it's working because it's burning. And so I'm feeling like even a new relationship to pain and just feeling kind of feeling kind of yeah, just like I don't know, grateful for I guess this new phase of a lot of my life has been oriented around pleasure, and I'm feeling a very new relationship to pain right now, and maybe some of the harder parts. And yeah, so I'm in it. I might be off camera a while because I'm stretching a lot to move the soreness in my body, but I'm grateful for I guess the pain right now.
Hey, Delisha, thank you so much for sharing and for offering a reframe, right? Because so many of us have been conditioned to be pain avoidant, right? Um, and to really want to sort of gloss over things and to stay on the surface and to just be okay. And let me say that in a different way. So many of us seek to inhabit comfort only. And while there is certainly a place for comfort, right? Like amen for comfort. Um, when we are growing and expanding, shifting and healing and transforming, it by design takes us beyond that which is comfortable, right? That the process of growth and transformation gets us away from what is most known, what is most familiar, what is easiest, right? And it might indeed result in greater comfort later on, but in that process, right? There's some shift, and I love your framing around sort of readiness. I mean, use a word that you didn't use, but your framing about like if I'm in a sort of healthy enough space, loving enough space, then the things that I would normally bypass and work around or only seek to stay on the comforting side of, like they come up because they know that I'm in essence good enough shape, right, to be able to actually engage with them. And I appreciate that your orientation to that is not just in relationships outside of you, but your own relationship with yourself is healthy enough, strong enough, um, through your being alone for quite some time and tending to yourself enough that these things can come up. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful reframe to that they are an indication that the presence that you're feeling of the pain or the tension is actually an indication of deepened well-being, right? Rather than an indication of breakdown and something that you need to reflexively move away from. The other thing that I love in your experience is that not only are you curious about it and leaning into its positive applications, but you're also getting support around it, right? That it is often challenging for us to encounter the places of tension and to stay there, right? To stay there to get all that they have to offer us without positive reinforcement and support. So, deep bow to you for your process. Hey, Mo, what's up?
Hey, I felt really moved by what Delisha was saying because I too struggle with joint pain, and I just love the reframe as well. I was also talking to my therapist this week, and I was just saying that like once your body starts to feel safe in your mind, the memories start to unlock and flood out. And that was my experience when I was in St. Louis. Like everything was just flooded out. It was just coming out, coming out, coming out. I was like, oh, okay. And it is kind of scary because it has been like locked away to keep you safe for so long. And now it's like, okay, now we're ready. And I don't necessarily tend to think I'm ready. And yeah, I'm really sore this week because I subbed a few classes. I taught restorative yoga, which I haven't done in like years. And it's so interesting because people are so used to me teaching very high, intense, fiery classes. So then, like, I feel like my community forgets that I actually do enjoy slowness as a water sign. And so people get shocked. They're like, wait, what? You're teaching what? You're not teaching. I'm like I do multitude. And I think I like the reminder to myself that I'm multifaceted. So I taught a very slow restorative yoga. for twice, and then yesterday I taught a very high intense dance cardio class, and I was reminded again, like connected to my hips and my sacral, and it was so beautiful because after, well, I ran into someone who knows me from high school, and my old name is Amber, and so it was so interesting to like be pulled back into that memory. And this person was describing how like my hair was long and I would just be brushing it in class. And I just don't feel like a girly girl. So it was so interesting. And then they remember like my family's name. And I guess I'm like, wow, I guess my like 17-year-old self was so open to storytelling and sharing that this person remembers my siblings' names. And then after I went to go get two waist beads to restart because I haven't had waist beads since I cut them off due to inflammation. And the two waist beads I gotten were one called Amber. It reminded us tree sap and it's orange, and the other one is white and it has a moon on it. And I added it like a charm, a sacral charm to it. And just to like re-clear out like my wound. And it was just a beautiful yesterday, like just caring for myself so beautifully yesterday. That's how I'm feeling. And then also two updates. I like moved into my new place and I quit my full-time job. And so I have nothing but space to stop avoiding. And so I guess I'm like actually really happy. Like I'm kind of excited after listening to y'all like, okay, this is great. Like this is a new beginning and it's scary.
Thank you for sharing, Mo. Yes, yes, yes to new beginnings. I was just going to say, um, when we think about the sort of foundational components, the keystones of life, often among them are home, work, health, family. And you have had, and shifts in any one of them uh, create lots of change in a life. Shifts in multiples of them actually are often an indication that a new life is emerging. You have had shifts in home and work that you just described, and some ways of being in body differently, not just the fast stuff, but also the slower and restorative. So it seems like um, you're in a period of transformation and emergence, birth, rebirth, renewal, however you want to frame it. And what a gift, though, as a part of this process, it's almost like you've had a little bit of a Sankofa moment, right? That you ran into someone from your younger self who knew you by another name, with another do, in another context, and could share some of those memories with you. And so to lean into that sort of Sankofa principle, we look back, right, to go forward. You get to look back and notice what from before captures your attention and might be useful to you as you move forward into your becoming. What a gift, what a gift, what a gift. Is there anyone else? Hey, Tayama, so good to see you. Is there anyone else who wants to share how you're arriving today before we jump even further, go deeper, have a swim together? I'm going to take your silence as an indication that y'all ready to go swimming. Okay. So let me just say this. If any of you are able to come onto screen, I invite you to do so. I certainly understand not always being able to come onto screen because that's my truth too. But if you are able, I invite you to join us so that we can see you. Ooh, Taya, I want to be in that water. Oh my
Pool for
goodness.
us to go swimming in.
Hello. Yes, yes, yes. Just imagine that I am with you. Getting my dolphin on. Oh my goodness. How wonderful. How wonderful. All right, y'all. I'm going to do a little bit of teaching today because that's what's in my spirit. And I want us to do some practice because that's just who we are. We get a chance to practice what it is we're learning. And so I want to hold both of those things. I want to share some process. Our focus today, my title today is Spiritual Prescriptions. Spiritual Prescriptions, consciously engaging our divinity and humanity. Right? And so, how do I want to come at this? I'm going to tell you a story. Can I tell you a story? I can tell you a story. Yes. Thank you, Delisha, for nodding, giving me permission. I can tell you a story. Thank you, Taya. I've shared this story with one other person on this call. It's Brittini Yawo. I've shared it with Yawo, but I want to use it as illustrative of the work that we're going to be doing together today on spiritual prescriptions. And before I begin the story and the teaching and our practice, I want to invite those of you who'd like to tell me what you think I mean when I say spiritual prescription. What does that evoke for you?
Like the medicine that I need for my incarnation, for my soul to do its best thing for the highest good of all.
The medicine I need for my incarnation, for my soul to do its best. Yes, and for the highest good of all. I love that frame of reference. Thank you. Tess, that's beautiful. My inner child lay on the ground. Yes. I see you, Mo, appreciating Tess.
Good morning. Good morning, Miss Rebecca. Good morning, Spirit Rising. When you said when you had said something about spiritual prescription, it's interesting that you said that because lately I've been having some struggles, and it's a spiritual thing, and so I prayed and said that I need some clarity on some things, right? And I mentioned what medicine or what treatments spiritually that I need to engage in order to dissipate my struggles. And so what I would say from my perspective is that it's about a course of concoction that is specified for one spiritual journey or struggle. And whatever that prescription looks like, whether it's the type of modalities or type of treatment or approaches that will, quote unquote, heal or resolve whatever ailments or their lack of. And so that's why when you say spiritual prescription, it hit me. And I'm like, whoa, is Miss Rebecca reading my journal? Because I could have sworn that about 2 days ago, I asked for that. And it's interesting that you call it by name. So that is my reflection.
Miss Alicia, that's what time it is. Yes, I'm psychic. Right? Like I'm attuning. I say that somewhat in jest, but the honesty is that I am attuning to collective consciousness, as are we all. And I'm so glad that our topic today is in alignment with the work that your soul is already doing. Right? We're doing some root work. We're getting down into the root system of our being. It's not just staying on the surface of ourselves, but getting into our interiority and the essence of our experiences, right? And spiritual prescriptions and treatments do that. That's what they do. They get to the heart of the matter. Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to say anything before I tell my story? Because I think this is great framing from Tess and from Miss Alicia to help anchor us and give us a frame of reference for the conversation that we're going to have today. All right. So let me tell you this. Let me tell you this story, so that you know that I'm not just talking about stuff, but that I'm actually in the midst of living it. A little more than a month ago, my work email was hijacked, you all, and my identity was stolen. And the thieves were operating out of Luxembourg and Tokyo and Frankfurt and Brazil and Indiana. And they managed to dupe one of my clients into paying tens of thousands of dollars of my invoices directly to them, leaving me both without payment and on the hook for still compensating my team, right? So, like, you can imagine my distress. And it was hidden because they were redirecting my emails, filtering, and then blocking me altogether. So I could not see what was happening. I had to hire a cybersecurity firm to help me clean up the mess and to examine both my web presence and my computer for security breaches. And it's taken me weeks to redress this issue, and it's caused me lots of anger, fear, and grief, quite honestly. The client who was scammed never discussed with me the changes to electronic payments and the new bank accounts that were being requested. So they didn't actually talk to me, even though they were being asked to deviate from the typical behavior that we normally engaged in. And that contributed to them being cheated, right? Like, they were scammed just like I was, right? But the lack of communication and conversation contributed to their being cheated. And I ended up maybe a week or two ago meeting with the CFO of the organization, of my client's organization, the chief financial officer, so we could have a conversation about the situation. And essentially what he said to me was that there was nothing he could do, that the bank was investigating fraud, that would take 60 to 90 days, and that I should check with my insurance provider to see if they would cover my lost invoice payments. And I had no idea what my insurance carrier would do. I was devastated. I felt unsure, angry, and cheated. I had some recommendations for what that company should do, what that organization should do in terms of its policies and protocols in situations like this. And I was teary and worried about how I was going to cover my losses and meet all of my obligations, right? And on the drive to pick up my computer from the cybersecurity company after I met with the CFO, I just let myself feel the fear, anger, and sadness that were really alive in me. And my husband called and asked if there was anything he could do for me. And I was like, no, right? Like, I was not in the most generative space, right? I was hurting, and I was like, no, thanks for reaching out. There's really nothing you can do. And I allowed myself, I don't know, for about 15, 20 minutes while I was driving, just to feel all that I was feeling. And it had me, quite honestly, tied up in knots. And at a certain point, though, I decided two things. While I was feeling what I was feeling, I decided two things, because there were a number of issues that needed to be resolved, right? The first that I decided was that I was going to pay my people no matter what, right? That was just going to happen, that they should not be, they still had lives and obligations, and that this should not make it more difficult for them. And the second thing that I decided, and that brought me some relief. Like, I was going to make sure that they were whole. But then I had that nagging feeling like, but who's going to make sure I'm whole, right? Like, have you ever had that? Like, I'm going to take care of other people, but who's going to take care of me? Right? And so it's a hell of a thing to have a sense of responsibility with no control. And that's a fairly common situation for us, right? I mean, I'm sure I'm not saying anything that is counter to many of your experiences, that there are probably lots of times in life when you have been responsible for something, but not in control of it. Right. And I like to control the stuff. Right. And so it was activating all of the places and spaces in me that see control as comfort. And so the first thing that I decided was that I was going to take care of my people. And the second thing that I decided was that I was going to trust the divine to make me whole. Like, the spirit's going to have me, because, spirit always has me. One way or another, spirit's always got me. Those two things were really, really, really important in terms of shifting my consciousness. So I'm telling this story, but I want you to sort of map out in listening to this story, map out the sort of steps in the story, right? So I allowed myself to feel what I was feeling, and then I made some decisions, and then I was like, I'm going to do right by my people, and I'm trusting that Spirit's going to take care of me. And after I made those decisions, Spirit reminded me of a line that I had read and underlined in my daily word earlier in the week. And that line was this: God is my ever-present, inexhaustible supply. I'm going to say that again. God is my ever-present, inexhaustible supply. I remembered that line, and then I added to this truth that I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that is for me. These statements together gave me a fully formed spiritual prescription. I changed the language just a little bit because God language often has me thinking about powers outside of myself. That's just my own conditioning around the use of that word, right? When I was raised in the church, something called God was always framed as a power that was not only greater than me, but that was largely outside of me. And so that does not mean that word doesn't evoke those same frames of reference for everybody. That was just my frame of reference. And so I use more spirit language because that allows me to more easily connect to that presence and force within me as well as around me. So I changed the language some, and I said, Spirit is my ever-present, inexhaustible supply. I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that is for me. Spirit is my ever-present, inexhaustible supply. I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that are for me. Spirit is my ever-present, inexhaustible supply. I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that are for me. And I recited this prescription for the next several minutes while getting gas at an area gas station. I just kept saying it, kept saying it, kept saying it. And while pumping gas, I had a vision of an African masquerade dancing around my soul's fire. I convene myself and my soul, convene with my soul and the different aspects of my being daily around the fire. And so I saw this African masquerade who I had not seen before. He came into the circle and was dancing around my soul's fire, and he was calling up energy from the earth and calling down energy from the sky to make it rain. He was indeed a rainmaker who told me not to rely on conventional interventions to address this situation, but instead to engage with spiritual forces, trusting the movement and the flow of spirit. And so he was like, yeah, I understand that you tried talking to the CFO and doing the thing and going to the cybersecurity, but right now what we're going to do here is we're going to work with the spirit. And he pulled the energy up through the earth, down from the sky to make it rain, to bring forth life. Water is life, right? And he told me to focus my awareness on spiritual forces or spiritual currency. He didn't say that, but he embodied that. And so it was very clear to me, right? I had called up this image, this visual. Often spirit speaks through symbol, right? And so in my mind's eye, I watched him dance, calling up energies and calling forth energies and calling forth water and life and flow, which I associate with fecundity, with life itself, with abundance and prosperity. And I watched him dance, and I was reciting my prescription as he was dancing. Spirit is my ever-present inexhaustible supply. I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that are for me. And he's dancing, and I'm chanting, and I'm opening more fully. Where is my attention? Where is my attention? My attention has certainly shifted from when I first got into the car. By the time I finished pumping and got back into my car, I saw that I had missed 2 phone calls from the CEO of my client's organization. And I called him back, and he told me that he would engage the authorities and the banks and the insurance companies, and that I was not to worry because he would also issue me a check for the full amount of my losses. For the full amount of my losses, and that he would put it in my hands in the next several weeks. And I didn't need to worry. I just needed to do what I did. Just keep doing your work. Keep doing what you're doing. Now, you all, I was so relieved, so relieved, so relieved, so relieved, because the shift was immediate. The external shift was immediate, but understand that the external shift followed an internal one. I'm gonna say that again. The shift in external conditions followed a shift in internal state. It's really important. It's really, really important thing to note, because so often we want to change external conditions without transforming internal states. And it's so much harder to do. And the reason it's harder to do is because we are literally not present and available for the shift. It's like when my mama said, don't be at the train station when your ship comes in, right? You're in the wrong place, right? And so there are things that we often want or need, and we're not present and available to them internally. It's not necessarily that they're being withheld from us, as it is we aren't there. That's one way. Now, I'm also going to say, though, the spirit is not bound by our frames of reference. So resolution of situations doesn't always look like what we expect or hope either. Right? There's always there's a sort of cosmic agenda at work, of which we are a part. But the moral of the story that I want you to take away is this: spirit works. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, it actually does work. Spirit works. Spirit works. It does work, and it is effective. Always. Always. Spirit works always. Now, we don't always work the spirit. Aha. But spirit works always. So, though its processes and resolutions are not always what we hoped for or imagined, but there's never a time when spirit is unresponsive to our needs, no matter the appearance of things. No matter the appearance of things, right? So I gave an example because it was illustrative, and it's one that I have experienced most recently. So I gave an example where, in some ways, part of the sort of miracle was it was deliverance. But you all have heard me say that there are lots of different paths in spirit, and deliverance is but one of them. Development happens to be another path of spirit. So sometimes the outcomes aren't delivering us from a circumstance as much as they are developing us through the circumstance. And that isn't the absence of spiritual intervention, it is just a different kind of spirit work. Are you with me? It's a different kind of spirit work. Spirit is always working. Sometimes it is delivering in ways that we anticipate. Sometimes it is developing in ways that we might anticipate or might not want. There are a whole range of behaviors and ways that spirit works. But no matter what, spirit works always. Spirit works always. Our job is to consciously engage the spiritual process. I'm going to say that again. Our job is to consciously engage the spiritual process, trusting the presence and the power of spirit as it moves in us, through us, with us, for us, as us, on our behalf and on behalf of the good of the whole. Trusting the presence and power of spirit as it moves in us, with us, through us, for us, as us, on our behalf and on behalf of the good of the whole. And that distinction is one that we make, right? Because we have a sense of duality. There is me and then there is other than me. Spirit is not bound by our dichotomized ways of seeing things. So y'all got the moral of the story? Hey, very good, very good, very good. All right, so let's go ahead. Now that we had the moral of the story, I want to get into some of the elements here. I want to lean into what is a spiritual prescription and how does it work? Right? Because I want us to spend most of our time just practicing and playing. What is a spiritual prescription and how does it work? We heard Miss Alicia and Tess talk about spiritual prescriptions for us. I want to offer up a version of their definitions. I'm going to actually stick it in the chat. Here we go. A spiritual prescription offers written or spoken directions for preparing and administering treatments that resolve dis-ease at its core. So it's written or spoken directions for preparing and administering treatments that resolve dis-ease. But they're resolving dis-ease not just on the surface of things, deep down at its core. So this is what I mean when I talk about spiritual prescription. Directions that resolve dis-ease through treatment of the core. Everybody with me? Still making sure you're with me. All right. Now, the power of spiritual prescriptions comes from engaging both our divinity and humanity. And this is very, 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 very important. This is a key, this is a fundamental piece. Because what they do is they activate our state of wholeness to transform our consciousness and our conditions. That is, there's both an internal part of the process and an external, an embodied, a physical. There's the spiritual and the material, because we are both human and divine in simultaneous and coexisting ways. And I gotta say this, because otherwise what happens when we engage spiritual power and spiritual work is that we often default to engaging spirit as a bypass. So we're trying to hop out of the human experience. Do you understand what I'm saying about that? That's not what we're doing here. right? But this is a typical kind of thing. Like, oh Lord, give me some so that I can be better. But what we're really trying to do is to not experience the human side of things. And the way prescriptions work best is that they don't take us out of our human experience. They integrate and connect our divinity and our humanity. That is, they have a holistic approach. They're a holistic approach. And the way we can tell that we are not in optimal process is if we're trying to resolve a situation by avoiding either our humanity or our divinity. No. Prescriptions, the most effective prescriptions, their power lies in supporting our wholeness. They're not asking us to choose whether or not I'm human or divine. They're working with all of what we are. So they activate our state of wholeness to transform our consciousness and our conditions. They work by attuning our consciousness to spiritual truths that do a couple of things. Those truths expand our awareness, right? They expand our awareness. They shift often our attention. So where am I placing my attention, right? So they shift our attention, they expand our awareness, and then they have a way of shaping our behavior. So expand awareness, shift our focus, shape our behavior so that we animate that which is optimal rather than only animating and enlivening that which is fearful or that which is fear-based. And we animate these things with our life force energies. So we turn things on with our own life force energy. And so the beauty of these prescriptions is, again, they are like, I'm expanding my awareness. It's not just the distress. I'm shifting my attention, right? And there's some consequence for my behavior. All of these things end up working together. Now, something that you've heard me say quite often, and that you've heard our other midwives say, and that you have said, so let me say this in a simpler way, is that spiritual prescriptions operate from the spiritual law, And now I'm sharing my own beliefs. So I'm like, take it as you will, because we are a community that has many beliefs and many belief systems and traditions and practices. But they operate through a spiritual law that says wherever our attention goes, our energy flows and experience grows. Wherever our attention goes, our energy, life force energy flows and experience grows. Again, there's an internal and an external. There are internal and external complements there, right? Energy and attention tend to be internal, experience is internal and, right, external. So wherever our attention and energy, wherever our attention goes, our energy flows and experience grows. This is a law. And it's no respecter of good or bad, right? Or what we would call good or bad. So if I place my attention on it, my energy will fund it, and there will be some experiential complement, some experience that emerges in me and beyond me, or in me or beyond me, as a consequence of that. Now I'm going to pause there to address Miss Alicia. Yes, Miss Alicia.
Thank you, Miss Rebecca. What I've gathered from what you have said thus far is that no matter what the discomfort is, it's not the solution, or the comfort is not going to ease us out of the discomfort. We're going to be in discomfort, right? However, what we seek for comfort or for ease, it's not going to is not going to opt out of the discomfort. We still have to experience the discomfort. The reason I'm saying that because when you said the story about how you were hot and the emotion that you felt from being hot, and then you made a decision. Although I had a loss, I'm going to try to rectify by honoring my, my word, and to make sure others get paid. And then because you were positively manifesting and conditioning, saying that although in spite of, and then the miracle happened. And I'm assuming that although you made the decision to honor your word, you were still in discomfort because you had experienced, a violation. And so, and I say this to say is that my struggle is that when I'm in discomfort or I am in struggle, and I automatically assume that when I make a request, that my struggles and my discomfort goes away. And then when it doesn't goes away, then I feel like, okay, maybe I didn't do something right. Maybe I'm being punished. Maybe I am not using the right words. And so then I start internalizing punishment to myself, start condemning myself. And then of course, then it becomes a spiritual struggle. And so what I heard you say is that you're going to have some discomfort, but comfort's going to come, and you still it's going to come, but it may not come in the way that you expect to, because you did not expect the guy to call you and say, hey, Miss Rebecca, we're going to do these things. You knew something was going to come, and you had to sit in it until it come. And so that's what I gather so far.
Indeed, Miss Alicia, you got it. You got the point. And it's a point that I was going to make later, and you made it now, which is not surprising because we have so many great spiritual teachers, yourself included, on this call. The reason why I said when I started talking about, hey, remember that spiritual prescriptions operate by engaging our wholeness, our humanity, and our divinity, right? And that they are not bypassed, right? Is that part of, if you heard part of, and you did hear it, that I let myself feel. I felt angry. I felt pissed off. I was scared, right? I was sad. I was all the things. I was open to my feelings, because part of what we say is you can't heal it if you don't feel it, right? I was open to my feelings, but what the feelings and being open to them does is it keeps me open. See, if I'm not open to my feelings, how am I open to the movement of spirit? Like, come on now. This on-off switch doesn't just work for some things and not for others. If I am in a defensive posture where I am closed, I'm closed. I'm not only distant from the pain, I'm not only pushing the pain away and numbing from the pain and trying to stay away from the pain and blocking the pain out, I'm also blocking out the spiritual power. So it turns out that that part of this process, remember, the divinity and humanity, is to be open. So I let myself feel what I feel. I'm open to my feelings because I'm open. And that openness makes me not only open to pain. It's not just pain or distress or disease that I'm open to. I'm also then open to the flow of spirit as it moves in me, with me, through me, for me, as me. So what's so important there is openness. Are you understanding? I know you understand, but I'm asking to the community. Do you understand? Like, if we're blocking, we're blocking. It's a blunt instrument, right? And we're blocking out lots of things in an effort to stay safe. This is often also why you heard me say to Delisha early on, I'm so glad you have support, right? I'm so glad that you have support, because our ability to stay in an open position, especially when we're hurting, increases the more we feel connected to loving, supportive community. And whatever that community is, that community can be embodied, like what's happening here. That community can be disembodied, right? The way you feel, your God, your ancestors, the all that is, the all blah, 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 right? Like, but the extent to which we feel connected and supported often is the extent to which we will have a tolerance for being open. So open is good community practice, right? It's a good, it's a state. It's a state that is supported by our sense of connection. Let me say that. And we connect in lots of different ways. I think the other thing that I want to say lastly is that spiritual prescriptions are most impactful when they are personalized and actionable. Personalized and actionable. Like we could keep it, oh, the star, the moon, the sun, but if like you not located in there somewhere, it doesn't land the same way. It doesn't come alive in the same way. And actionable, that is, we do something with them. Because when they're personalized and actionable, it aligns our inner states with embodied practice. That's what we're seeking to do, divinity and humanity, right? It aligns our inner states with embodied practice in our bodies. Again, we're not trying to bypass. That's why I'm like, hey, embrace the feeling. Embrace the feelings. Practice in our bodies. I'm going to drop this content. I know some people taking notes. I'm going to drop the content in the chat.
Ankle hurts so much. Like it feels like I sprained it. I can't even walk on it. Like every time I try to even put a little bit of my weight on.
You're muted, Rebecca. I don't know if that's because you're not talking to us.
Yes. Go ahead, Delisha.
I was just saying you were muted. I didn't know if you were talking to us or not.
No, I was engaging my youngest.
Okay.
Who had a need right now, right? So, okay, so y'all see I put that stuff in the chat? Put it in the chat, right? So, through the lens of my own experience in spiritual practice, there seem to be about 7 steps for creating spiritual prescriptions for me. Let me say that, right? Because you all know I don't believe in one path or one way for anything. So others might have both simpler ways and they might have more convoluted processes. But this, I'm going to share with you a practice that works for me for developing spiritual prescriptions. There are 7 steps for me. I'm going to identify them for you. I'm going to stick them in the chat too. See how this goes. Okay. Right. Remember the special power, the power in spiritual prescriptions is that they are a holistic approach that engages both our humanity and our divinity. The first is to describe the disease state, the state of disease. That's what we do. What is the state of disease that we are seeking to address or redress? The second is that we specify how it makes us feel. How do I feel about it? Right? Again, I'm not trying to bypass. I'm not trying to get out of the experience that I'm having. This experience is at my door in my life, and so it is for me. Right? The tension, Delisha, in your body and your joints are for you. And if we assume that everything that comes your way, your soul can use, in ways that further develop you, then hey, it's here, whether I like it or not. So how's it make me feel? And I get to touch into that. And then I notice where I'm feeling the dis-ease in my body. Where am I experiencing it? Right? Because it's not just out in the ether. Oh, that hurts. Where does it hurt? Right? Where is my anger? Where is my sadness? Where is my fear activating in my muscles, in my tissues, in my synapses? Right? Now, this can be both your personal body and the collective body, because the truth of the matter is we can also write prescriptions for the collective, for the collectives of which we are part. Because we still have to have some sense of connection. The fourth step is that we clarify the resolution that we're seeking. And I'm going to go into each one of these steps a little bit in a little greater detail. And then we state the spiritual truth. 5 and 6 are important because this is where the actual writing of the prescription comes, the formation of the prescription comes. All of this, though, remember that this prescription itself happened to be directions for preparing and administering. So these all 7 steps get us through the preparation and the administration of spiritual treatments that help resolve dis-ease at its core. So step 5 is that we state the spiritual truth that if elevated could shift our experience and or our interpretation of the situation. Because it's not always just what happens to us, it's also what we make it mean. What we make it mean to us and about us has profound implications for how we live the experience itself, how we live the situation itself. We then declare the action that we will take to activate the truth. What will I do to activate this truth in my life right now? Like, we're not looking for optimal conditions. Like, in 5 weeks from now, then I will, no. Right now. Right now, this is where you live. This is where you have agency. This is where you have power, ability, and presence right now. So what I'm going to do in the present. And then the last piece is detailing how often we'll take the spiritual treatment. Right? So when I looked back at my own experiences over the arc of my life, I have found elements of these in so many of my experiences. Do all 7 play out as distinct, as sort of distinct activities? No, they're intersecting and overlapping. But this is the best I could do at sort of mapping out the components for us to look at and for us to play with and for us to use. Are there any questions before I continue? Because I'm going to go further. Before I go further, I want to open up the floor for any reflections or responses or what's coming, what is activating in you before I go further. If there's anyone who wants to offer a reflection or an insight or a challenge, like, we can engage.
I'll just say thank you. Like, man, Rebecca, we so in alignment. Hey, y'all. Hey, we on a walk. So, but look, yeah, we so in alignment. So high five. I'm just like, yeah, we, that's all. Yep. I just laid these steps out myself. So keep going. Keep it up. Love it.
All right. Wonderful, April. Wonderful. Mo.
I'm laughing because I'm clearly conditioned as a therapist. I'm like, it sounds like a treatment plan. And the meaning making is so important. Like, that's where I really focus on. It's like you said, like, what it's not all about what happened to you, but like how we make meaning, and then how that meaning gets distributed throughout our everyday life, the stories that we tell. I love disrupting that for people. Not so much for myself.
Hey, well, Mo, you know what? We get to keep practicing, right? We get to keep practicing. Yeah, and it sounds like a treatment plan, like a therapeutic treatment plan, because it is a treatment plan. That's why it sounds like one. It's a spiritual treatment plan, right? Like I'm saying that in addition to the other things that we do, let us not negate consciously engaging our divinity with our humanity to help us live well, right? In addition to all the other things that we do, because like we do lots of other things, right? And then and only if none of them work, then we might consider maybe we should activate spirit. I'm trying to help us. I'm trying to help us live from the places of our sovereignty and our power with greater consistency and consciousness. It has a profound impact and implication on the quality of life that we live. Carolyn, I see your hand.
I love being here. Thank you, Rebecca. This is such big medicine. I'm receiving it as if I'm being given the most delicious medicine brew. And I've been working this path, Rebecca. I've been working it. Y'all, I'm trying to be an organizational leader and make budget and do all this stuff that's so new to me. And at every step, I know the answer is like, I gotta grow. I gotta heal. I gotta live in ever more unshakable, tenacious faith. I gotta trust. I gotta align with what my heart is telling me is what I'm going for. And and so many shifts are happening in what is my life, what is my reality, that are flowing from a commitment to taking my daily prescription, which is I don't get out of my bed. I might go pee, but I don't think about anything else until I spend time visualizing what I'm going for and calling in the shifts of consciousness that I know are needed to know that I'm needed not to manifest what I want, but actually to be faithful to what I've been given to hold on behalf of life, right? To be faithful to what is mine to midwife in this lifetime. And I'm going to give an example that I'm in big celebration of. Rebecca, I've been trying to do all this organizational stuff that I'm really not so gifted at. And I have felt really guided to asking someone to be the director, someone Kelly, who already does the Earthkeeper website and all the graphic design, to ask her, who's so gifted at this stuff, to be our director of organizational artistry. And she said yes, and we had a big ceremony around it. And I felt the whole field of the team shift when Kelly said yes, because it's like, this makes such a more solid organization that everyone's stepping up more fully and more enthusiastically, and everything's making more sense. But I haven't really known how I'm going to pay Kelly to do this. I just knew that it was nonsense, that I'm doing things poorly that take me out of soul alignment, when she could be doing them brilliantly in a way that she's enthused about it. So I'm like, obviously we're making this shift. I don't know how we're paying for it. Maybe I'm just not paying myself, but I'm not going to do what's not mine to do, because I want it to be done well. I want it to be done in a way that brings health to the system, and that is is most faithful to the vision. And so this morning, while you were on this call, I was on another call talking to someone from the A Year in Ceremony cohort that Rebecca was part of, about fundraising and about what it's going to take to make budget and what it's going to take to pay Kelly. And I was speaking in a way that's aligned with my meditation this morning. And my prescription is total awe of divine provision. It's just total awe of the graciousness of life. And just to to live as that's my expectation of being, as one mystical poet says, married to the miraculous, right? So that's my set point, is to just be married to the miraculous. And I just had a miraculous conversation with someone around fundraising, and I think that this person's going to be able to lift Kelly's salary, which is a small salary, because it's just like, it's just like 25 hours a month. But that's 25 hours of her doing with excellence what I was doing poorly, freeing me up to live as the visionary. And I feel time and again that there's so many challenges upon me, and that everyone is what I need to grow. And at root, there's this prescription of living in just a expectation of myself married to the miraculous, but there's a deeper prescription that I'm working with every day, that is just that I'm not alone and that people love me. And that's just so basic. And when I work it on that level, I start to notice the support that's around me and draw it into relationship, and that's healing my body as well.
Yes. Carolyn. Hey.
Proud
And
of
so
us
it
this
is.
morning. Proud
And
of
so
us.
it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it is.
Yeah.
And so it is. Because it is, right? You've made some decisions, right? You experienced a circumstance or condition that was not optimal. That is, you're clear on the vision. You were engaging and working in a way that was not optimal. You made a decision that you needed some more support, right? And high quality support. You're calling in the resources, and you're acting on it by having conversations. Hello, right? Like, you just, all the steps in there, right? Are in there. Yes. I love the way that this comes alive, not just for me, but comes alive in our collective experience, right?
Yeah.
It works. In AA, they say it works if you work it.
Yeah.
It works if you work it. Yeah.
And I would love to share by some way some simple Joe Dispenza meditations that are on Spotify that are real helpful for this stuff. And it's kind of nice to have these little tools that give us structure and ease around some of the spiritual work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carolyn. Miss
Yeah.
Alicia.
You know what, Miss Rebecca, I was with you all the way up to when you said that what can you do now? I'm just paraphrasing. You know, what can you do now? Not about what you can do later.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, what if the discomfort is a complex one that requires time, that requires strategy, that require multiple approaches, right? And so it can't be always immediate. Like, what can I do now to move the needle now when the situation or the circumstance is complex and ever it's complex, it's complicated, it's discombobulated. Because I'm like, what would be the prescription for a more complex, quote unquote, disorder, right? Because what you propose, it would be something easy to ask. Okay, finding a way to get a light bill paid, that's easy. But when it comes to, I'm just throwing it out there, cancer or something that requires a more time, I don't got cancer, I'm just feeling like that, but if someone who has a much complicated disorder or a problem, what would be your approach and strategy to that?
Yeah, is to do it now. Miss Alicia, I'm not moving off of now. Remember that our sense of what is complex is bound by our frame of reference. Spirit is not bound by our frame of reference, right? So there's always something that I can do now, even if what I'm doing now is imagining, is opening myself up to the movement of spirit, however it chooses to move now and later. Right? I make myself open and available to the wisdom of spirit, or I have the light of my soul direct me in my choices and in my thinking about this situation, or I keep my heart open to blah, 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 right? That's not necessarily the full strategy, but it is something that I can do right now that keeps me in connection with what wants to be, right? That's what I mean by that. Right? So I might want to be delivered from addiction. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop drinking today. But what I might do is spend time today imagining what my life would be like if I didn't have the unmanageability of addiction. I just tied a couple of minutes today in imagining sobriety or recovery in my life. Even though I'm not yet ready to stop drinking. But what I don't do is quiet the voice in me that wants to stop drinking. I listen to that voice today that wants to stop drinking, right? And I give it some room before I shut it down. And for the next 7 days, I'm going to keep giving it room. And maybe each day I'll give it 1 more minute of room. You understand what I'm saying? Because here's what I know is I know that wherever my attention goes, my energy flows and experience grows. So what I'm doing is I'm tithing more of my attention and my life force energy to the state of well-being that I'm seeking. And that might precede any movement of my feet, right? I often say that our feet are not the first to move in our circumstances. So think about a complex situation, Miss Alicia, like Harriet Tubman living on a plantation. That had no quick and easy answer. But I guarantee that she imagined freedom before she took action on it. And that imagination, that internal activity was something. And if she kept imagining and kept imagining and kept imagining and kept imagining until not acting on what she imagined would kill her. So when you ask, well, where is it real? Is it real first, Miss Alicia, when you see the bud for spring? Or is the process of spring happening well before you see the buds? Right? By the time we see the buds that indicate that spring has occurred, 90% of the work of spring was already done. Because it's subterranean. Right? The water had to move in the earth, and the minerals and the nutrients and the seeds had to crack open, and all of that. And all of that was beneath our awareness. Right? All of that is happening in the earth when we don't see it, but it's happening. And by the time we see it, that's when we go, aha, it's beginning. Oh no, we late. By the time we see it, it's been going on. I'm saying we live within that same dynamic. By the time my feet do the thing, or my hands do the thing, right? There's been so much happening in energetic levels, in spiritual levels, in psychological spaces, in neurological ways, in physiological ways, before I even take a step. But all of that is real. And all of that is work. Does that make sense? It's working in us, with us, through us, for us, even before we see evidence of it. And even before we take the big noticeable actions. So I'm saying, let's make ourselves available now. At the very least, I can make myself available now in some way that then contributes to the larger unfolding. Yes, just like the womb and the babies, Mo. Exactly. Exactly. By the time I see the baby, right? By the time I see the baby, it's like we say that's when the baby's born, but real talk, the baby's been alive since before then, right? This is just when I see it. But there's been this whole process of becoming that precedes revelation, the big reveal. And what I'm seeking to have us do is to consciously participate in the process of becoming through spiritual prescriptions. Yes, April.
Dang, that's good. Dang, that's so good. That's so juicy. That's so rich. That's so powerful. Oh my man, that's good. Okay, all right. So let me say what. Okay, so look. Okay, so I like how you started with you got to feel the feels, because like, so as I said, I laid out my steps too, which is following the prescription. And my step one is that what I've learned. I was talking to this breath worker, and he was talking about how emotions are energy in motion. He said these emotions are energy in motion. And he said it has to come out. It has to have some place to go. And so we were talking about how you have to actually vomit those feelings. So the reason that we have to share, the reason that we have to sit with those feelings and get them out is because we literally got to get them out. If we think about what it's like to be constipated, constipation can literally kill you. Right? So we have to get those negative energies out. We have to acknowledge our feelings with it. So I really love how you said it. And so the way that I say it is that like, we got to vomit our feelings. I'm like, and so me and Giovanni, I'd be like, do we just need to vomit? Do we just need to vomit our feelings? Mm-hmm. So step one is like, for me, is like, acknowledge how you feel for real. Mm-hmm. Like, stop, because we can scroll all day to numb and to get not to focus on it, because we got other distraction. We got stolen focus, right? So vomiting those feelings, I love that. And so then also, we were talking about this idea about practicing, right? And so, two things with that. One, man, and I'm guilty of it. We all love a good inspiration, baby. We love good inspiration. That was good. Ooh, that was real good. Yeah. Ooh, clock it. Yeah. But inspiration happens sporadically unless we practice. The momentum is from the practice. So it goes from inspiration to practice. Oh, inspiration provides motivation to practice. I literally just wrote that from my meditation this morning. Inspiration to motivation to practice. That practice is the thing that keeps us going. We got to have that practice, because as this one woman that I once heard, man, she's so fire. Y'all need to meet her, man. She's an amazing woman. Her name is Rebecca Bennett. She said, love is a practice, and it starts with self first. And when it starts with self first, that means sitting with yourself. Because why do you sit with yourself? We have to sit with ourselves because that's where the spirit and divine live. When we close our eyes, and the spirit and divine are right here. And when we get still with ourselves, that's where we can actually hear what we actually want to hear, what we need to hear. That's when we can get the discernment. That's when we can get the medicine and the prescription, so we can get the inspiration to motivation to practice. And okay, I'm just excited because, okay, y'all can hear it in my voice. I'm just saying, block it, all of the things. Yeah, I love y'all. All right. Peace. I'm bye.
We love you too, April. You just go ahead and keep preaching. Keep preaching. I love that the topic is where you're already at. It's where you're already living, right? Just to hear Miss Alicia say earlier this week, spiritual prescriptions came to her, and to hear you say, look, I just finished doing inspiration, the motivation, I just finished doing it, writing it down. Yeah. It's like, I said I was psychic. Not really, not in that way. But there's something in the collective consciousness. I'm attuning to the collective consciousness. There's something in the collective consciousness that is saying to us right now in this moment, right now in this moment, when the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 has been gutted, right? When we are watching the dismantling of the civil rights infrastructure of the United States of America, right now, there's something in the cosmic agenda that wants us to not only rely on conventional means, but to actively work spirit in our lives, in our personal transformation, and in our collective transformation. Otherwise, we are leaving too many resources, too much of ourselves off the table. trying to bring about change with one finger when we have 10. Right? So we are being invited into expanded ways of being, behaving, and transforming. Spirit is trying to get us to activate other powers. You remember what? I don't know if you all remember. When I was growing up, there was like Wonder Twins activate, right? Like they would activate two little twins. It's the same thing. Wonder Twins activate. But the twins here are both my divinity and my humanity. Wonder Twins activate. What happens when I activate from the wholeness of myself rather than from fractions and fragments of myself? What becomes possible? That is what we are exploring, right, today. So Wonder Twins activate. Let me activate my divinity and my humanity and my divinity. They're not indeed separate, though they are expressed in different ways, like particle and wave. Right? And when I consciously activate my, what I'm doing is consciously exercising power. And even if the particle in me feels caged and trapped, the wave does not. Right? So can I shift ways of being that make available to me more of life, more of the universe? Like, can I do that? And the answer is yes. Well, what's a decent process for that? Right? And you just described the process, April. Miss Alicia has described the process. I'm describing a process. Everybody, find your process. I'm not wed to you using my process. I just want you to have a process. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I want. I want you to have a process. So if you're like, damn, I'm stuck, I'm in wave and I'm just all over the place and I need to, okay, well then let's enter through the particle. Let's bring the particulars into focus to help us. So here is, I'm gonna send this through how am I gonna send this? I'm gonna send this through the email, the interwebs. Okay. So if I were to take these steps that I talked about and to give you a process, this is a process. And I'll add another line so you can put in your own. Step 1, right? And I've written them as questions because what I have found is that questions invite and invoke our curiosity and help by default make us open. Step 1, you heard me say, what is the disease state, the dis-ease state? Here, the opportunity is to focus on the beliefs, the behaviors, the conditions, the circumstances, or the situations that are generating distress for us. And I would suggest that we keep the description simple. We know what we're living, right? Boil it down. Because if it's got 9,000 parts, you're going to lose some. It might, in fact, have 9,000 parts, but like the question is, where are you starting? Where are you starting? Because we can make all manner of prescriptions because we are multidimensional. So, but let's start in a certain place, right? In my situation, what was generating distress was having my identity stolen, my identity and money stolen, right? Real simple. Y'all with me? Second step, how does it make you feel? Right? April, you just finished talking about this. When you started talking about emotion is energy in motion. The opportunity here is to be honest, right? This is preparing us. Remember, prescriptions help us to prepare and administer treatment of the core, treatment of our circumstances and what's happening at the core. Be honest, even if the honesty is just with you. Nobody else has to see your prescription. And what does this mean? It means to allow ourselves to feel the distress without seeking to bypass it. right? Know that feeling doesn't just open us up to pain, it also opens us to the movement of spirit. So allow myself to feel. What am I feeling? And really, like, I'm so upset, or I'm so worried, or I'm so, whatever you are, scared, like whatever you are, honestly, right? The next thing to do, though, is to consider, where do you feel the dis-ease in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? Or where do you feel it in the collective body? Because you've heard me say, and I'll spend some time on another day about prescriptions for the collective of which we're a part. But just know that you can take this process and apply it to the collective. And what's important here about where do you feel it is that all feelings are experienced in our bodies, right? Feelings have neurological and physiological impacts, and they ground us in our humanity, right? And they keep us from just being out in the ether, right? Because they connect us to the human experience. And you've heard, and many of you have probably read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, but the body keeps the score of everything that we feel and everything that we think. And it's a master of holding our distress, but it's also a master of discharging our distress, right? The body is a natural healer. And if it isn't interfered with and fucked with, again and again and again and again and again, like it does what it knows to do. So our bodies are masters both of holding and discharging distress. What's important for us here is to notice and to pay attention to where the distress lives in us. Is it in my shoulders? Typically, when I feel a lot of pressure, I feel it in my shoulders and I feel it in my head. That's me. When I'm feeling anxious and worried and scared, I usually feel that in my gut, right? So that's me. But pay attention to where the distress lives in us. And this is the other piece of that. We can also direct our spiritual treatments to these same places within our bodies. So earlier today or yesterday, when I was in a meditation, I noticed where I was experiencing this pressure and weight of having to be responsible but not having control, where I was feeling it. I created my spiritual prescription. I put the prescription on my tongue as one of those, if you all ever had those, like a mouthwash, like a mint, like a mouthwash, but it's not the wash. It's the little like dissolvable tablet or little dissolvable tablet or square. And I put that, so I didn't actually have one of those, but I imagine I took my prescription and I stuck it on my tongue and I swallowed it. And then I saw the medicine going to my shoulders where I keep the pressure, where I hold pressure. And then I imagined cosmic hands rubbing in that spiritual prescription into my shoulders, along with swallowing the medicine and having it go to my shoulders. So I'm directing spiritual truth to the places in my body that hold pressure and that hold pain. And remember that my body is energy, vibrating at the sort of frequency of matter, but it is energy. And so just as spiritual prescriptions are energy, energy works with energy. So where do you feel it in your body? Notice where the distress lives. And also know that you can bring the prescription directly to those points. The fourth step, what resolution are you seeking? Here we anchor in what you imagine to be the highest and best for you and the good of the whole. We never stop remembering that we are connected beyond our sense of self. But we don't negate ourselves. We don't negate ourselves. So here the invitation, I'm inviting you to center yourself and be connected. To center yourself and be connected. Because so often some of the trauma that we see is that people might, traumatic behaviors or toxic behaviors where people might center themselves but not acknowledge that they are also connected to a greater whole, to a larger whole, right? And so here we center ourselves and we connect. There are a couple of notes that I wanted to make here. One is, remember that spirit is not bound by our frames of reference. So we need to maintain some openness to that which we cannot imagine or understand. So I want you to consider, what resolution am I seeking? But I also want you to know that the resolution may not show up exactly the way you think it should or will, right? So we got to give some room. We got to give ourselves and we got to give spirit some room to do what it does. We have to have some openness and some spaciousness. The other thing that I wanted to note is that we live in a free will universe. And so any efforts to spiritually coerce others will have painful consequences. I'm just saying, because sometimes the resolutions that we might seek might have to do with other people's behavior, right? I want them to do something different, right? Whatever that thing is. And if what we are trying to do is to force difference, just know that those things often have consequences for us and for them. So my suggestion here is to stay rooted, continue to center yourself and the good of the whole. Continue to center yourself. Continue to center yourself rather than, I want my husband to blah, 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 blah. Let your husband pray for what he blah, 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 blah. Right? We want you to center what is highest and best for you and the good of the whole. That fifth step, 5 and 6 are highlighted because this is where the prescription starts to take shape. Everything up until this point is preparation. Then this is where these steps are where we actually develop the prescription. And the 7th step is where we administer it. So step 5, what spiritual truth, if elevated, could transform my experience and or interpretation of my situation? I want you to consider what you know and believe about how spirit works. What do you know and believe about how spirit works? And if you need extra help on that, just use love as a compass. Use love as a compass to help you find the truth that most wants your attention. Use love. Because if fear is guiding your truth seeking, you might get to a frame of reference that is not optimal for you. And so anchoring in love as best as possible, let that be your detector to help you find the truth that really wants your attention. And there are lots and lots of truths, right? So but what truths are most helpful and most transformative for you in this circumstance? Number 6, what action will you take to activate this truth in your life? Right? We've all heard sort of faith without works is dead. So truth wants to be engaged. It wants to be expressed. It wants to be practiced, and it wants to be lived. How does it want to live through you? When you heard me say my spiritual prescription for my situation, I said, spirit is my ever-present, inexhaustible supply. That's my answer to number 5. Are y'all with me? Right? That's the truth. It is. It is my ever-present, is always there, inexhaustible, ain't got no end supply. Right? But the action I added was I open, right? I open fully to abundance and to the abundance and prosperity, to abundance, prosperity, and support in my life right now. I open. That's the action. What's the action? I open. I open fully. So like whatever barriers or whatever blockages are in me, let's move them out the way. I'm opening. I'm opening. I'm opening. Right? This isn't, I'm opening to experience it, to express it, to engage it, to have it come forth from me and come to me. So my action was to be open. Right? So spirit is my ever-present and exhaustible supply. I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that are for me now. Right? And then how often do you want to take this spiritual treatment? How often will you take it? The point here that April talked about was practice. Repeatedly engage your spiritual prescription. Don't just write it and then you're done with it. Recite it, apply it, use it as often as you need in order to become open to its powers. I also suggest what you just heard me do, which is say, apply it directly to the sites of distress in your body. So if I'm feeling pressure in my shoulders, if I'm feeling fear in my gut, I take the spirit as my ever-present inexhaustible supply. I open fully to the abundance, prosperity, and support that are for me. I put that on my tongue. This is how I do it because I imagine it like a pill. Put it on my tongue, swallow it, send it straight down to my gut. And I keep reciting it, and I put my hand on my stomach. I might rub gently, and I'm rubbing it in like an ointment. Remember, I'm an embodied being. So I don't make this prescription only be up in the ethers. Right? I feel it in me and on me. And that helps me connect to it in more visceral ways than if it were just an affirmation that was on my mirror. Right? It's a treatment. It's a treatment. And in my instance, I kept saying it for 5 to 10 minutes straight. I just kept like, how often will I take? I was saying it and I said it again and 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 again. And it held my attention rather than the, oh shit, what am I going to do? Right? I had that. I let that hold my attention early on. Remember, I was open. But then I made a decision and I shifted, and when I got into it and I said it again and again and again and again and again, that's what I was feeding with my life force energy. So I allowed myself to feel what I was feeling. I just didn't stay only in those feelings. And this is how this process works. How do I stop share? So I'm going to give you all some homework because it got to 1 o'clock just like that. I'm like, what? Where did the time go? I'm going to give you some homework. So here's the homework. I'm going to send you this chart. I'd like you to practice writing a prescription, right? I'd like you to write a prescription. And what you can do, hold on for one moment, you all. Okay, I had some background noise. I want you to think of a situation now that you think could benefit from spiritual treatment. Is there a situation in your life that could benefit from a spiritual treatment? Can everybody think of one?
Sure can.
Yeah, a spiritual treatment. And remember, when we're writing prescriptions, these prescriptions are written or spoken directions for preparing and administering treatments that resolve dis-ease at its core. Any dis-ease that we are feeling at its core. So we think of a situation that could benefit from spiritual treatment. It might also have other kinds of treatment, right? I'm not saying that this negates other forms of treatment. It might have medical treatment. It might have therapeutic treatment, right? It might have financial treatments. I'm not negating the multidimensionality of our experiences or of ourselves. I'm just saying that we should, with intention, add spiritual treatment to the list. So we think of a situation that could benefit from a spiritual treatment. And we note it, we describe it, we get clear about it, right? And then we think, oh gosh, if I'm experiencing any distress around this, where is it? Right? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? I take a moment and I allow myself to be honest about what am I feeling? And then I ask, where am I feeling it? And I might be feeling it in multiple places. And I might be feeling it in multiple places within me and within the collective, right? Because we are multidimensional. So the distress might live in my body, in my hips, and it might show up, the conflict might show up not only in me and in my heart, but also in my family dynamic. Right? It might show up in my family system. It might show up in my community. And so I get to acknowledge that. And I might acknowledge the ways that, all the feelings that it might be evoking in others. Right? There might be a whole constellation of feelings. Right? And I see where they're living in me. I see where they're living in my relationship dynamic, where they're living in my family dynamic, where they're living in my social dynamic. Okay. And then I get clear about the resolution that I'm seeking. Anchoring and centering what is highest and best for me, even if the dynamic is cultural, even if the dynamic is familial, even if the dynamic is social, I'm still anchoring in what is highest and best for me. I do not negate myself and the good of the whole. I center and connect, center and connect, center and connect, right? I hold the multitudes. I hold the personal and the collective. And then I shift my attention to, is there a spiritual truth here that could help with this? That could help bring forth what's highest and best for me and the good of the whole? Is there a truth? If so, what is that truth? Right? What is that truth? And how might I act on this truth? Now, and then how often do I want to take this treatment? How often do I want to act? Right? Like, that's it. That's it. Now, I think we should practice, but I'm not going to make you practice right now with me because I have to take my daughter to team meeting at 1:30. But I am going to email you this chart, and I'm going to put within the chart rows for you to write prescriptions, just to go through the process. And my request is that you write at least one spiritual prescription this week, one spiritual treatment, just one this week, and that you administer it. Not just write it, you administer the treatment this week. And then we can come back and process together. I don't know who's up next on next Tuesday. I got to talk to Adande about next Sunday. But it would be great if we can bring our spiritual treatments or prescriptions and what we experienced around them, right? Carolyn, you said you're married to the miraculous, right? So what could happen if we allow ourselves to consciously engage more of the full measure of our humanity and our divinity this week through the focused application of spiritual treatment? We'll see. All right. Are we good? Anybody want to offer final reflections before we close out?
So much gratitude, so much gladness for the right on timeness of this, the opportunity. All of this has been alive and stirring in me. And now there's a framework. Now we have a table with 6 columns. Thank you, Rebecca Bennett, so much. I'm excited to talk about it next week because step 4 is, I think, in part where I keep part of where I get caught is wanting to make sure that it's the highest good for me and for all, and like trying to suss out the difference or feel into what I'm supposed to do. And the truth is that I already do know so much and hold so much. And like you said about springtime, so much has been happening under the soil. And then also, I need to say out loud in community for accountability, the reminder to let my compass be love and not fear, because I have felt it swinging towards fear lately. And I felt it swinging towards fear, and fear that like then wants to kind of take someone else's inventory, or like see what I want them to do spiritually or practically. And of course, it's what I get to do, what I get to practice spiritually and in all the ways. And it's really good to be with you all. I love you all so much. I'm so grateful for this space.
Oh, thank you, Tess. And we love you and are so grateful for you too. And this distinction between love and fear is an important one. When in doubt, lean into love. When in doubt, And here's the other thing, when in doubt on like, am I imagining what is highest and best for me and the good of the whole? When we're like unclear about that, turn it over. Turn it over to spirit. Like when I'm not sure that I'm like, okay, spirit, I'm leaving some room for you to rewrite, like edit, right? You give spirit editing privileges, right? So if anything that I have imagined is in any way not aligned with that which is highest and best for me and the good of the whole, then exercise your editing authority and make it known to me. It's an important thing, right? So exercise your editing authority, rewrite, transform, change it, and then reveal it to my consciousness. And it may not be revealed to my consciousness instantly, but reveal it to my consciousness. And it will come. So if what I'm really longing for is that cheating business partner of mine to get his comeuppance, right? Because he cheated me and to suffer and the blah, blah, blah. And that's the highest and best I can imagine, but I give it to spirit, you understand? And I say, hey, yeah, just in case this ain't exactly highest and best, or I'm not sure, because I'm still like, you help me. Then over time, what might come to me is real clarity about not being in a situation where I'm exploited, and instead being in one where I am appreciated, fairly compensated, adequately protected, and that anything and anyone that is not in service to that is no longer in relationship with me, in work relationship with me, right? And so I get clearer about that, but I might not start there. And what I don't want is our effort at perfection to get in the way of getting started. That's why I'm just like, know that spirit has editorial authority, and to just acknowledge, always keep some spaciousness for that, and then for it to be revealed. Anything else anyone wants to say or add or reflect on before we close?
I would add this. Thank you for the space, because this week I really had to. I was attacked by many Black men. Like, you don't know me, you don't know my upbringing. I was like, I don't, and I'm trying to get to know you and understand how to show up with you, because you're angry every time I come into this space. And when I leave, I feel overwhelmed. And then another young man, I was like, you do realize your daughters watch how you communicate. Reason I asked that, because I try not to get in people's business, but I overheard the mother say, you don't like me, do you? And she's the only person that shows up with, for him. And supports him through everything he needs. Even when she's tired and sick, she still shows up with him. He's a single father. But a lot of his stress and worries, he projects onto her. And I said, it shows up in a different way from a person that's on the outside looking in. And I get what she said when she asked you, you don't like me, do you? Because that's how you talk to her. And he's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And me and this person's close. So it hurt that he thought that I was judging him, but I was trying to show where his mother's anger and confusion was coming from. And I explained, I'm not a therapist. I'm just viewing from a Black woman's point of view and speaking to her son, viewing what how you guys' relationship is. And it may not have been my space, but it some of the things that they said to me and not understanding what I was bringing into the space, and that's why I said I probably shouldn't have did it because I'm not a therapist, but it hurt me to where I had to go cry. And then afterwards, as I'm crying and talking to God, why do I continue to feel this way when all I'm trying to do is let that person say why it's hard for me to be around when they're in certain spaces? Because I can't watch that. I didn't grow up where you talk to an adult like that, or, when people harm each other all the time. My family wasn't like that. So, and I heard him say, you can't fix it all, but you didn't do anything wrong. What you can do is learn to listen more and understand that you won't always understand. No matter how your world seems or how you raised your children or how your upbringing was, it wasn't the same in all spaces. So give grace and space and leave space, because I hung up on all the conversations. I just hung up because I said it's not an argument, this is a discussion. And because they kept saying you're arguing with me, and I said I'm just trying to figure out where you are and why you show up like this. So God allowed me to just take time to myself and also be okay with saying nothing, but I don't have to be in those spaces.
Thank you so much, Maisha, for sharing your experience this week and something that you were carrying that activated you. It might be that this spiritual prescription for you in the highest and best you can imagine, because one of the things you said is, or he said was, you don't have to understand. It could very well be that the resolution here is really one of acceptance, right? Acceptance of what your role is and protection for yourself, right? Like, we get to be in those spaces where, if I can't change a thing, may I have the discernment to be able to accept what it is that might be calling upon me, and can I also protect, right? I want to accept and I want to protect, and that might be it, right? Of this situation, that might be the resolution. The treatment is around acceptance and protection and self-protection. I don't know that that's the case, but when we're in these situations that are beyond our ability to directly change the dynamic, then the opportunity is to consider, what does it activate in me? What might I need, right, in order to be well, in order to be okay here? And really being curious about what is stirred up for me by this situation, and that curiosity may be beyond this situation, because it might be that this situation is really a trigger or a doorway into another set of feelings or emotions.
It was a
Okay.
trigger because
Mhm.
um when my mom was sick, she knew she was sick for 3 years, but 6 months before we learned what was all going on, she was like, I don't want her in my house. I don't want her around. I
Mhm.
don't want her. Y'all don't talk to her. If y'all gonna talk to her, I don't want her I don't want you around me. And then at the end, she said, well, what happened, baby? Why you ain't been here? I ain't seen your face. I ain't heard your voice. You ain't came and sang to me, nothing. And I later learned that my mom had bipolar schizophrenia. So they taught me that as I played back my childhood, I was like, maybe she didn't realize the things she said or the times that I was hurt from her actions. And so as an adult, I always tried to, is this for me? What was they going through before they came in front of me? Is it something that is has been going on a long time and I just said a word or something that triggered them? But it did trigger me because it reminded me of how I used to talk to my mom. You don't love me. You don't care. Just give me some time. Give me a moment. And now I try to put love in every space that I'm in. And sometimes the love don't look as loving to other people, you know, but I try to put love into the things and the things I do and the people I'm around. And I realize that's something I'm studying.
Yes.
Everybody's not there yet.
That's right. That's right. And there might be more aspects of the dynamic with your mother that this situation brings up that could warrant your curiosity and revisiting. There might be something there. There might not be, but you know, to the extent that you found yourself activated, right? There might be another opportunity to continue to grow. And if you were focusing on trying to change their behavior, it would keep you from being able to notice where the tender spots are in yourself that still could benefit from your loving attention, compassion, curiosity, and engagement. Yeah. Wonderful. You all, it's 1:18. I'd be trying to get us out on time, but it just doesn't work that way for me. So, you know, acceptance. I love you all. I was going to play some music, but my oldest daughter is looking at me because he has somewhere to be. So I need to switch roles. So let us pray ourselves out. Holy Spirit, we give thanks for this community and for all who show up on Sunday. We never know what the constellation will be, what the constellation of souls will be, but we are grateful for those who come to the well of wisdom, coming to drink deeply and coming to share deeply. We're grateful for the ways that the collective wisdom moves in us and with us and through us and for us, helping us to deepen our understanding in the workings of soul, in the workings of spirit. May we have the courage this week to activate our divinity and our humanity, to consciously engage them, to apply treatments to the places that are tender or distressed or diseased in our lives, so that we may get to that which is at the core and to experience well-being at the heart of the matter. May we have the courage to apply these treatments, to learn what they have to teach us, and to reclaim the spiritual power to move at the essence of things, and not just on the surface. May this help us to reclaim our spiritual sovereignty and to live it more fully, brilliantly, and completely. Not just this day, but every day. Amen and Ashe. Mwah. Blessings upon you. Look for an email from me later today. Okay?
Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Love you, everyone. Blessed day.
Love you back.
Bye. Love y'all.
Bye-bye.